On this show, we feature Chanelle Munroe. You might remember me from my TV shows in the 1980s and 90s. And now I host a show featuring some of the most inspiring and inspirational people. Welcome to Magical People. Chanelle Munroe shows up with grace, with a fire from deep within that cultivates into her fierce and radiant confident soul. Her unique and incredibly powerful blueprint in the world is channeled through her extensive talents, gifts, and work ethic. She's the kind that's here to light a fire within you, to inspire, create, and remind us all of our infinite potential. Chanelle Munroe is the world's only professional female Métis magician, a multidimensional singer, writer, dancer, actor, magician, and workshop facilitator. She's a proud Manitoba Métis Cree from Treaty 1 territory, and her spirit name means White Bird Woman. She lives in the sky realm and comes from the stars. She's a former powwow dancer and fire spinner at Red Boots Productions, Inc. Former lead magician at Magic Immersive, she's a former hype girl, rapper, backup dancer at DJ Jazzy Jess and the Fresh Princess, studied Bachelor of Arts in Theatre at the University of Winnipeg, studied at Selkirk College Contemporary Music and Technology program, and is from Winnipeg, Manitoba. And welcome back, everybody, to Magical People. I'm so excited to have our very, very special guest on this week. It's Chanelle Munroe. How are you this week, Chanelle?
I'm good, Michael. Thank you for having me. How are you doing?
I'm awesome. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on in the first place. We sort of have someone in common. You don't know me from Adam, Eve, or whatever, but you do. And we have Sean Watson in common, who's your partner on and off stage. And we'll talk about him a little bit later. And maybe I'll insert into this final product a couple of promo shots of the two of you because you look so good together. But that's a whole other thing. I don't know where to begin. I put together this cut and paste kind of thing of credits, and one of the things is you're a multidimensional singer, writer, dancer, actor, magician, and workshop facilitator. You're a proud Manitoba Métis Cree from Treaty 1 territory in Manitoba, and you call yourself your spirit name means White Bird Woman. Now, I avoided trying to pronounce it. Hopefully, you'll pronounce the spirit name. And I love this quote. And if you want to expand on that, that would be great in a minute. I live in the sky realm and come from the stars. That really, it kind of moves me. And maybe we'll chat a little bit about that. I also was following you and Sean a little bit a few years ago during lockdown, and you were doing some kind of tour throughout North America, an immersive kind of show. And I want to talk about that. Needless to say, you've got quite a few educational credits, a BA, a Bachelor of Arts in Theatre at the U of W or University of Winnipeg, for those not from Winnipeg. And you also studied at Selkirk College Contemporary Music and Technology program. And that's just some of your credits. I don't want to necessarily bore people out there with all of them. So where do you want to begin? I would personally love to have you expand a bit on your spirit name and where it came from, etc.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And you know what? I'm thinking it might actually be fun to start off with a little magic trick. I'll just open up my phone here. I just got new business cards in the mail. I don't know if you can see that, but this is the new iPhone 20 That's my business card right there in the new iPhone. It says Chanel Munroe, Motivational Magic. We'll take this card and, oh, there we go, right out of the phone. So that's a little bit about what I do. And yeah, as you can see, there's a dream catcher in the business card as well. So yeah, my family were Métis Cree. I'm also Jewish on my father's side. And yeah, my spirit name is Wabshki Benishkwe, which means white bird woman. So that was given to me by Ojibwe mentor of mine. So it is a Ojibwe name, even though my family is Cree. But yeah, white bird woman. So it sort of means the teaching given to me when I was given my name is that it's all the birds. It's not just one of the birds. And so that made a lot of sense to me because my whole life I could never figure out like the one thing that I wanted to do. And that's why I have so many diverse talents going into dance, singing, acting, magic. So it's really hard for me to pin down the one thing that I do. And then so later on in my life, like in my mid 30s, I was given the spirit name, meaning all the birds, and it just helped me to understand myself so much more. So that's the meaning of the name.
Very cool. Very, very, very special. I also have a quote, I live in the sky realm and come from the stars. Did you want to elaborate on that at all? Because there's something very special about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a Cree teaching. So the Cree people, we all say we come from the stars, and that's part of our creation story is from Sky Woman. And the Cree people have an entire set of our own astrology. We've been doing astrology and astronomy since the dawn of time. So we have our own teachings about, what the Pleiades stars mean, or, the different constellations, not just the Greek mythology that a lot of us are familiar with, but Cree people, we have our own set of astronomical teachings. I don't know a lot of them and the stories and legends, but I do know a couple of constellations and stories, and I would like to learn more.
Very exciting. Very, very exciting. There's something about First Nations or Indigenous, depending on what part of the world you're from and the terminology, that really resonates for me. I'm not sure why. It might be a past lifetime or whatever your belief system is, but something very special. And I might add, you may be too young. I'm not sure if you ever saw my TV show back in the 80s and 90s, but the puppeteer, Daryl Scarrett, is First Nations and calls himself Windwalker. And that to me is very, very special in the origins of his name. So I have some kind of connection to Indigenous, Native spirituality. And I also see a connection, if you will, between Celtic lore and of course Celtic mythology and whatnot, which I really love as well. I want to say a quote. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but you speak of yourself as a magician. I can bend minds, shapeshift space, and transport you from everyday reality. Real magic surrounds us all. Allow me to be your enchantress. I'm a headlining magician from Magic Immersive Chicago alongside my partner, Sean Watson. We also specialize in large scale illusion shows as well as parlor and close up magic for corporate gigs, casinos, fairs, and school tours. This is not just only meant to be a plug for you, but I really do honestly want you to expand a bit on that because, of course, I lived and I still sort of do in the magic world. I was a performer for many, many years now, mostly Zoom and a few times a year live performances. Back in the old days, in the 80s and 90s, I did 250 shows a year for about a dozen years,
Wow.
and a TV show for 9 years as well, which I had Sean on. If I was still doing that show, I'd have you on as well, of course. So I get that. I'm really, really excited that you guys are doing all these shows and all these illusion shows. I've seen promo video and pics for it. But for regular people, because we're appealing here to magicians and non-magicians on this show, I'd love you to expand a bit more on the types of shows you do. And I know you work alone and you work with Sean as well. So let's talk about that a bit.
Okay, absolutely. And so I'll just start by picking apart the my paragraph off my website that you had quoted. And I want to take it one step further back and let you know that I am also Irish and Scottish. So I also have that interest in Celtic lore. So I've taken my three backgrounds, which is Jewish and Celtic and Indigenous, and I'm really into religion and spirituality. So on my Jewish side, I've really started to study Jewish mysticism and the Kabbalah. And then on my Celtic side, sort of the more witchcraft themes. And then I find Indigenous spirituality just to be inherently magical. And so I take those three cultures and those three spiritualities, and I sort of represent them in one of my solo shows, which is called 5 Ways to Kill a Magician. So I did my first solo show this year. I debuted it at the Winnipeg Fringe Festival. So there is like, dangerous magic in it where I'm, eating razor blades and do beer bottle roulette and, those dangerous pieces of magic that has killed magicians in the past. But then I also sort of weave my three cultures and my three spiritualities into it. And in the show, I talk about being, I call myself the mystic of magic because, magicians, we were once persecuted, burned at the stake for practicing magic. And it wasn't until a book came out in the 1600s, The Discovery of Witchcraft, came out to the public to say, no, these are just stage magicians. Like these are just tricks for your entertainment. And then people stopped burning magicians because they realized that we didn't have these extra special magical powers. But I'm trying to bring it actually back to saying that real magic does exist everywhere, because I feel like nowadays in our society, we're so practical and so logically minded that we forget our own spirituality, our own mysticism, our own magic, which is a way of life in Indigenous cultures and many other cultures. So I'm sort of trying to bring it back to not selling snake oil, like not the snake oil days, but just trying to remind people that real magic is all around us. So that's sort of the bit of my solo show. But as I told you, I'm many different birds and I wear many different hats. I also do just a solo kids magic show, like really fun, happy type magic, no swallowing razor blades or anything like that. And then together, Sean and I, we do our grand scale Las Vegas style illusion show. So that's actually how I started. I started as Sean's assistant, so the girl getting cut in half and whatnot. And then he was like, wow, you're great on stage. Let's teach you a trick or two. So I started to perform alongside him, which led into my solo career. And yeah, I would say, though, my passion is definitely traveling to different Indigenous communities with Sean and going into the schools, doing our magic show, and then teaching my workshops. I have a basketball camp workshop. I was MVP of the Jewish Olympics, and I took Team Canada to the gold as captain of the basketball team. So I do a pretty righteous basketball camp. I teach my mom's Indigenous art therapy course, which she taught at the McEwen Center in Winnipeg for years, passed her course and her knowledge down to me. My singing, Speak Your Truth workshop, where I talk about my background as a singer, as a dancer, a rapper. I sang in a punk band, a metal pop band, currently working on a folk album, so all the different genres. And then Sean teaches his motivational magic camp as well. Yeah, as well as casinos. school tours, you name it. There's not a stage we won't play. You got a stage, we're on it.
Very cool, very cool, very exciting as well. You're so diversified. I'm also Jewish. That's my background, but I adopted along the way over the last 20, 30 years what we might call spirituality, more spiritual. Of course, Judaism has its spiritual aspect to it, but also really what always interested me was the Celtic realm and paganism. We call it that for whatever reasons, a broad term, and the real magic of life, if you will, which I've kind of switched over in the last couple of years to bring that more forth. Just a part of me. It feels right to evolve into that. I love the fact, and this is where you guys more came to my attention, was in your immersive shows. And I forget his name. I shouldn't forget his name. Alan, I think his name is, or his first or last name, but he created this immersive show. He's from England, and he was the one that actually called me to tell me I've been accepted into the magic circle. And so I really should know his name, but it escapes me right now. And then I saw
Amen.
you guys were doing his show, his or were part of his immersive show, I think in TO and in the States. Let's talk a little bit about that because I wish he would bring it back, and I wish somebody, because that's perfect for Winnipeg, one of the most creative cities in North America, as far as I'm concerned, Winnipeg and my Montreal. But I sure would love to see that again or see people doing that more. Let's talk about that immersive show and how you guys fit into it.
Yeah, absolutely. So Sean opened the Magic Immersive Show. That was the name of it. The creator being Jamie Allen, um,
Right.
wonderful magician and all around good person, and was just a lovely, lovely man to work for. So Sean started by opening Magic Immersive in Toronto during the pandemic. So it was a brilliant model. So what it was about, I want to say, 10 or 12 different rooms where you could socially distance with your pod of people or families and safely travel from one room to the next, to the next, to the next. And each different room would have a different theme with a different magician. And so it sort of took you through the timeline of magic. Like one of the rooms was called the Egyptian Hall and takes you back to like magic and history as far back as that. And then it ended with the evolution room. So like evolution, but evolution, which was Sean's favorite because Sean did this pretty righteous laser light beam magic show that just filled the entire room with these excellent looking lasers and magic. So Sean did that for about a year in Toronto, and then they moved it from Toronto to Chicago and changed the name to Magic Immersive because by then the social distance rules were gone, and so they made it an immersive show instead of the socially distanced show. So the immersive show was basically you had a mosh pit of people standing in the center, and then seated people on the side, and then there was 1, 2, 3 stages. And so the show would go back and forth between these 3 different stages. So you were literally immersed in the magic. So Jamie hired me on for that. So I was a headlining magician across the stage from Sean, which was great, you know. So I went sort of from being Sean's assistant to being a headlining magician and having my own assistants and doing some amazing illusions as well.
So exciting. So exciting. I'm hoping you guys, and I don't know where you stand as far as producing your own shows other than what you're doing, but in that immersive sort of way, because I see that. I used to years ago when I first started in magic around 81 or so in Winnipeg, I used to lease, I think I mentioned this to you or Sean a long time ago, the Planetarium Auditorium, which was relatively reasonably priced at the time. I think it's a 200 seater unless they've changed it and made it bigger or smaller. And did that for about a year or so. I rented it once a month and put on shows, produced my own shows, and it was more a variety thing. And then that led to the TV show. But I see you guys leasing or renting some kind of really cool space where you can have a little bit more control and maybe do that sort of thing. Because in my opinion, you guys are kind of leaders in your field. I don't think you even realize how really advanced you are on so many levels, the two of you. I mean, everyone sees on television those competition magic shows and whatnot, but you guys are real. It's one thing watching you on the TV screen or watching rather magicians and what we call illusionists because they do the big stuff with lighting, but you guys actually do it. You're real people. And one of my goals when I first moved to Winnipeg from TO was to bring more magic to that city. It was already magical. I didn't realize how magical it was, but also so open. So I'm hoping that down the road, I'm going to read online or somewhere that you've done this, that there's this incredible show. It also reminds me a little bit of years ago, right before I moved to Winnipeg, I was working doing caricatures at Ontario Place in Toronto and went into this it's like a huge globe. There's a proper term for it. I forget what it's called right now, but Epcot has it, and Man in His World had it, and many World's Fairs had this big globe sort of affair. And you go in and you're surrounded 360 degrees with screens and you're watching this movie and you feel like you're right in it. You're standing there with 100 people or more or less, and that brought to mind what you were describing in that immersive thing, except you guys were real. You were actually real magicians on stage surrounding your audience, probably with visuals going on as well. So I think audiences can't get enough of that sort of thing. And anyway, that's my hope and wish that you guys are the first, because many firsts have come to Winnipeg or have been born out of Winnipeg.
Absolutely.
So, people, it looks like we're starting to run short already. People want to book you. I know they're clamoring down your door. And how can they reach you? How can they reach Sean? I've got a website address that I'm hoping, or a URL, if you will, that you'll mention, but maybe there are other multiple ways as well.
Yes, absolutely. You could visit my website, chanellemunroe.com. There's a contact form on the page. You can also visit seanwatsonmagician.com and contact him through there. And then together, we are Magician and the Muse. So you can also visit magicianandthemuse.com, which also takes you to Sean's website and my website as well.
I love that. When I saw that poster, that graphic, and the name, I thought, wow, that's perfect. That's perfect on so many levels. So I have to thank you. I want to thank you. I don't have to thank you, but I really, for taking the time out, Chanelle, from your busy schedule, for joining us here today. You have my, of course, eternal gratitude. I'm hoping you'll come back, maybe show us more magic or more video clips of you guys and or you or both of you doing magic sharing. Will you one day?
Absolutely, I would love to. I actually want to take an hour out to interview you because I have so many questions for you and the books that you write and your career. And Sean told me that you actually showed him his first magic trick in Winnipeg at World of Wheels. You showed him how to back palm a playing card. And I'm also so interested in what you do as well. So yeah, let's do another interview soon. I would love that.
Awesome. Definitely. I'm there. You want to do the reverse and interview me as well? I'm a ham. I'll go for it with pleasure and gratitude, as you full well know. So thank you once again, Chanelle Munroe, for honoring us on this day and being here. And I want to thank all of you out there as well for joining us on Magical People. We'll see you all really soon.